All right, Pickle. It's Friday, and this Friday we observe Helpful Honda Mailbag Friday.
The North Texas Honda dealers want to help you score on award-winning Hondas like the rugged and reliable 2023 Honda Ridgeline. You can stop by your Helpful Honda dealer today or visit ntxhondadealers.com to learn more.
So, if you got questions about high school football, college football, recruiting, lifestyle, romance, travel, should I ask them on Wednesday? That's when we solicit questions for Helpful Honda Mailbag Friday.
Question Wednesday is what they call
Question Wednesday. We call it Big Question Wednesday.
Big question.
BQW. Big Question Wednesday. That's a new thing. We got it.
That was very Braylon-esque.
Oh yeah, Big Question Wednesday, brah.
Yeah.
So get your questions in on Friday. So make sure you check that out. We did get some questions from the people, I believe. So let them rip, Pickle. One at a time, though.
It would be more crazy if we just asked them all at the same time.
That would be a lot.
Speaking of crazy, thoughts on the Crazy Town Banana Pants District of 19-6A?
Yes.
It is crazy, which a huge headline game live on Dave Campbell's Texan Live.
So that's the Katy district, Katy ISD district, 19-6A. And to be clear, everything was kind of bobbing along and everything looked pretty normal until
Katy Jordan decided they wanted to be really good
well,
at
Katy
football.
Jordan, for sure. But then, until Katy Taylor beat Cinco Ranch,
Yep.
that's when things really kind of got weird.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you're looking at, it's a 9-team district, and you are looking at a real log jam, I would say. Okay. A lot of this conversation comes down to the fact of, do you think Katy's vulnerable?
Mm-hmm.
And they've lost, one district game in 15 years?
Yep.
I, for one, am not particularly convinced Katy is not the class of this district. Now, that can change, but it can change tonight.
Right.
Live on Dave Campbell's Texan Live.
Correct.
Against Jordan. But that would represent, in my mind, a pretty significant upset.
I think where we're at right now is just seeing a 1 in the loss column for Katy after they fell short to Humboldt-Atascocita, and I think that was the first time that people recognized that, like, Katy isn't this extraterrestrial being that will just absolutely mull over everybody. Like, they can be beat. I just don't know if there's anybody in their district other than the game tonight that could do that, because Atascocita is a really good team.
Oh, absolutely. There's one other game. Like, this is a really intriguing week this week in 19-6A, and we'll start to have a lot more clarity because I think, it's my opinion, I think that there are 5 teams for 4 playoff spots. That's my feel on the matter. Certainly things can change in a hurry, but I would say right now the 5 teams are in some order: Katy, Jordan, Taylor, Cinco Ranch, and Tompkins.
Which is crazy because Tompkins has been somewhat of a rather
a
astonishingly disappointing team.
A lot of it depends
year.
on if you think Tompkins is going to be able to shake this off.
Right.
Right. Because that loss to Cinco Ranch is an ugly loss.
Glaring.
Right. It's an ugly loss. And that really turns things upside down. What gets interesting here is when, let me make sure I get this right. When is this game? Main Creek. You're listening to live coverage of me looking at a schedule. Last night's Cinco Ranch and Maid Creek game is important. There's also Taylor plays Tompkins, and Taylor and Tompkins is a really critical matchup.
Yes.
And that is a game that, again, how that played out Thursday is going to have major implications on what this district looks like. We'll have a lot more clarity based on coming out of this week, because all these teams that are in that mix are starting to fight each other out. So I would keep an eye on that. Obviously, the main attraction is Katy and Jordan, but there are 2 other games that are critical this week.
And if you missed any of the Katy Tompkins, Katy Taylor game from Thursday night, you can catch a full highlight package on Dave Campbell's Texas Football tonight.
Yes. So go check that out. What I'm saying is, ask me on Monday.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'll have a better feel. Because if Jordan beats Katy, let's talk about, like, everything.
Yes.
But for now, it's like, I think it's Katy 1. And I don't know. I'd like to think that Katy Jordan is 2.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'd like to think that, but we'll see. I would say I want to see how the Katie Jordan game plays out before I feel like things are a little bit better. So anyway, what's next, Pickle?
Are there any surprise contenders that you think could kind of shock the world and have a shot at the 6A D1 crown? Because I think we feel very confident in Duncanville, very confident in North Shore. That, shocking news there. But is there anyone else that you think maybe could contend one of those teams?
Right, so that's the thing. Like, 6A D1 feels like we are marching towards Duncanville and North Shore Volume 5.
For the 5th time.
I just can't, unless there's injuries or unless something really turns on a dime, I think Duncanville's going to be a 3-touchdown favorite over every team in Region 2.
Yes.
I think North Shore is going to be... I mean, we'll find out when they play Atascocita, right?
Yes,
that's the real test. When they play Atascocita, we'll have a better feel. But right now, they're at least, in my opinion, a touchdown favorite over Atascocita.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so then you've got those two things. I mentioned this to Craig Way, but one of my big takeaways from the Lake Travis Westlake game was, we're going to get North Shore Duncanville Volume 5 because I don't think Westlake or Lake Travis have the firepower to go toe-to-toe with North Shore. So then really what you're looking at, in my opinion, would be, is there a team within Region 3 that can topple North Shore?
Mm-hmm.
Or is there a team, because I think Duncanville's a big favorite in Region 2, is there a team within Region 1 that can get Duncanville in the semifinals? Allow me to suggest one team. And this is not a prediction. I'll suggest one team. North Crowley. Because North Crowley does appear in my mind to have the necessary components to go toe-to-toe with Duncanville. Specifically, they have pretty good line play. Mm-hmm. Specifically, I do not think they'll get blown out in the trenches, which is where so many teams get no contested against Duncanville. North Crowley's an interesting team that I would be interested in seeing up against Duncanville. That, to me, would be the most, would be the team that I would say it would be the closest to, a sleeper.
Yeah, because I could even, I don't think a team like Prosper is big enough up front. And I think that's exactly, you're right.
I think what
exactly
happened,
where
I think you saw it last year.
Yeah.
I think you saw it last year.
Yeah. I think that they've got the skill talent, but I don't think that they're big enough up front. And I think, too, if you want to talk about the North Shore thing, Atascocita does look really good. They have looked nothing but the part so far this year. They took down Katy. If they could get a win over North Shore in district, I still don't know if I would feel great about it because they would likely meet back up in the playoffs, and I don't know if they could do it twice.
Yes, that's the thing. Beating a team twice.
Now, that being said, if it's a really close game and they lose to North Shore in district, that in a weird, funky way almost makes me feel better that if they met back up in the playoffs, that then it could happen.
I would agree with that. So I would say North Crowley, Atascocita, let's wait for that data point.
Yes.
If it's not Atascocita, then North Crowley would, in my mind, be the best profile of a team that can prevent us from getting North Shore Duncanville Volume 5.
Yep.
So, there you go. And finally.
Let's go to the college ranks. What happens to your expectations for Texas A&M now that Connor Wigman is out? Which is just, that was a sad blow for him.
It sucks.
From the fact that he was also just a high school football player that we love that ruled.
Yes. Absolutely. When he was at Bridgeland.
Good
#Maximum Bears. #Maximum Bears. This stinks. And I want to be very clear now that that Max Johnson is a capable but probably clear step. There's a reason he was QB2.
Yes.
Right? I mean, they don't have some guy who's just happened. I think this would be a different conversation if Max Johnson weren't a known commodity.
Yeah.
Okay? We know what Max Johnson is. Max Johnson, pretty good quarterback.
Yeah. He's a great backup quarterback.
Right.
But you don't want to have to start him going into SEC play.
No. Exactly right. And so when you take a look at the schedule, and I think that a lot of it depends on where you started with this team. I was super disappointed by the Miami loss, but obviously last week against Auburn, defense, the last 2 weeks, the defense has been better.
Mm-hmm.
You got to look at the schedule, and I hate playing the schedule game, but you got to look at the schedule. Arkansas, in my opinion, was always going to be a pick'em. It's still a pick'em with Max Johnson. It's a pick'em. Alabama is such a mystery, and especially at Kyle, it's interesting. But I have a hard. It's hard for me to fathom Max Johnson beating Alabama. That's me. At Tennessee's been a little bit of a mystery too, but they do appear to be the kind of team that is set up to expose what A&M does poorly, which is cover in the secondary. Mm-hmm. So a lot of that, I don't know if they win that game with Connor Wigman.
Yeah, an X
right?
and O matchup.
South Carolina's interesting because Spencer Rattler's the hottest quarterback. Now that Connor Wigman's hurt, unfortunately, Spencer Rattler's the hottest quarterback in the SEC. At Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Mississippi State's riding the struggle bus, but at Ole Miss ain't going to be any fun. Mm-mm. Then they get ACU, and then they're at LSU. I think with Connor Wigman, I think they were looking at probably 8-4.
Yeah.
9-3 if you go and you surprise one.
Games.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you're looking at 8-4, 9-4, 8-3. Without Connor Wigman, I think that's one game. So now my expectation is the high side is 8-4, the low side is 7-5. Obviously, look, the wheels could obviously fall off, and they could go 4-8, and there would be the what if of what if Connor Wigman played. But I still have pretty serious concerns about this secondary, and there are a number of teams on this schedule, specifically Tennessee, South Carolina, Ole Miss, and LSU, that are going to cause them trouble with that. And if you can't outscore your problems, because that's the thing. Let's go back to that Miami game. They almost outscored their problems. It was a 48-33 game. Mm-hmm. Wigman threw a bad interception, but then he threw a bad interception when they were chasing late. He threw another interception, but that was because a receiver fell down.
Yep.
They were Connor Wigman was their best player in that game.
His stat line was
great.
Than the interceptions, the stat line was great.
And again, I think there's contextual reasons for both those interceptions. I lower my expectations by a win. Mm-hmm. Right now, I would say that my median expectation would be 7-5. If they overachieve, they're 8-4. If they underachieve, they're 6-6. But that's where they're at. What does that do for A&M moving forward? Boy, it's big questions, but. It's an unfortunate set of circumstances, plain and simple. But I do think that you have to readjust your calculations because I think you have to expect that offense is going to take at least a half step back through no fault of Max Johnson's. But I think we just know what he is. This is very different from I think when we had the inverse of Connor Wigman taking over for Max Johnson. Because Connor Wigman was an unknown.
Yes.
It was oh, maybe he's just got the juice.
Yep.
Max Johnson's a known. We know what he is. He's a solid, not spectacular quarterback, and I think the offense is going to take a step back because of it.
I agree.
So, there you go. That is Helpful Honda Mailbag Friday.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe.